Okay, so this door here is not actually the one that's the problem door. I've actually already fixed it, but I'll show you what I did. So the situation is, you go to open the door and the handle doesn't work. You push hard, nothing, the door won't open. Can be a couple of reasons for it. In the case of this one, the worst case scenario is that the bolt that goes into the lock has disengaged from the handle itself. And also worst case scenario is you have the door jamb here on your side. So if I move the camera over, it's on the tripod, so this is going to be a little bit tricky, but can I get the angle here? So you can see here, here's the lock where the bolt goes in. That's on the other side of this bit of timber. Often it'll be on your side, but it depends on how it goes. On this particular case, that means I can't stick anything into the lock just to push the lock open. So that's worst case scenario, which is the case I had. We'll see that in a minute. Okay, so tools that you may need. You will probably need a hammer, you might not. Doesn't have to be a big one. You will definitely need a sharp knife, like with a thin blade. You will probably definitely need a paint scraper. There are some really thin ones on the market that just you can bend really easily with your fingers, don't get in there too thin. But a reasonably good paint scraper. You could get away maybe with a screwdriver instead of a paint scraper, and you may need a screwdriver as well, sort of or a chisel, something like that. If we have to, you may need a hacksaw blade. If the first trick doesn't work, the hacksaw blade is the second trick. You can get these little handles to hold the blade, they're really cheap. If you don't have a little handle but you just have a hacksaw blade, you can wrap a cloth around it so you can hold it like that. Sticky tape, I've just got some electrical tape, but any old sticky tape will do, that's just to protect your paintwork. And a screwdriver, depending on your door handle, you will need maybe a screwdriver to remove it, and yeah, Phillips head probably. I think that's all the tools that you're going to need. So depending on what's wrong with your door, let's say you've got a handle like that, you'll probably have to remove the handle either way. So this one has a screw-on part here, which a lot of doors have a similar design. Just unscrew it and pull that bit off, which releases that, and it will have a couple of screws in it. This one had Phillips head. You just unscrew and pull them out, pull the door handle off, and you'll probably hear your door handle on the inside drop down onto the floor. Hopefully the side that drops down doesn't have this bolt in it. This bolt you can stick back in the door and try and work out what's going on. Now sometimes something like maybe this bolt has snapped or something like that's gone wrong, in which case it's actually easy to open the door. So I'll show you how to check that out. Okay, so if you're in luck and it was the bolt that goes through the door that broke, now that you've got the lock off, you should be able to just stick a screwdriver in there and turn it. I'll hold it like this so I can do it. And you can just turn it and that should pull the bolt back. In my case, that wasn't what happened. What happened was, actually I can probably show you in this door here. I might pick the camera up, I think. So you can see here where the bolt normally comes out of the door here, where I've got the screwdriver tip, the bolt is actually disengaged. It looks like it's got some sort of a screw in there that attaches to the bolt that slides in and actually locks the door. That actually came off, as it did on this lock as well. And that then got stuck, and so doesn't matter if the handle turned fine, the mechanism worked fine, but it just wasn't pulling the bolt back because the bolt had disengaged from this screw. So you've got a bolt stuck in the door. Now, so what you do is, I'll show you in a sec. Okay, so we have to get to the lock, so we need to move this door jamb. So what you do is you get your sharp knife, and this is just to break the paint. So you run your sharp knife along the edges here, and just cut it down in that corner there to remove the paint from where the door jamb touches the door frame. You can do that for a fair way of the door, so you're going to have to maybe do a little bit of repainting at the end. Then you get your scraper and you put it against there, and you get your hammer and you tap it, and to try and separate this bit of door jamb from the frame. Now when I did it, the scraper wouldn't do it. It just was maybe too thick at the front and it couldn't get in. So what I did was I got the screwdriver, and you can see, you might be able to see in the video, there's a mark just here in the door jamb. That was where I had the screwdriver and went bang. Now I only had to tap it once, and the jamb came away very slightly. Once the door jamb was away slightly, I was able to put this in and just tap it in, and the gap started to open up. And I could just lever a little bit, tap along and lever a bit. You will find there's the odd nail going through from here into the frame. So if you think you've hit a nail, then obviously stop tapping that bit and find another spot and lever it back a bit. Once you've got it levered back a little bit, the video I saw on TV, the guy just put this in line with the lock, gave it a tap, and it pushed the bolt back and he got in. In my case, the bolt was in too far into the door frame, and I wasn't hitting the sloping bit of the bolt. So the bolt has a slope on it, and if you push this on the slope, it'll, say it's got a slope like this, you push it, and this part slides back because you're putting push on something that's on an angle. In my case, the bolt was so far in, there was no angled part to touch with the scraper, wouldn't push it back. So, yes, hacksaw blade. Once you've got this there though, I could get the hacksaw blade in there, and I was able to just store the lock. This is where the sticky tape comes in. I've put, you probably can't see it, but I'll start peeling it off here and you can see it. I put white tape here. This is white electrical tape, because just the sliding back and forth of the hacksaw did a fair bit of, took some paint. If you can see here, it's taken paint off. Actually the tape just took some more paint off. So yeah, it scraped the paint. The only reason it peeled that paint off there was because it had already been scraped back by the hacksaw blade. So once I saw that happening, I put tape on, but obviously it was too late for me. But if you're going to do it, you can put tape down before you start. So anyway, yeah, it'll probably take you 10 or 15 minutes with a hacksaw blade to cut through. Let's have a look now and see how it all went. Now, apologies if my lighting is really bad. I'm using a torch. There's just no light in this area, unfortunately. So there's the marks on the door frame. I went underneath the door jamb here, just so you can see. And this is the bolt still in situ, where I cut through it with the hacksaw blade. You can see actually it's going to come out now. Here it is. Yeah, so that's where I cut through. And you can see, even though here's the angle part, so you can see the part with the, you can see the slope on it there, right? So, but you can see there the bottom part near where I've cut it, it's actually flat, this surface here. So that was in the door like that, and I was pushing on it, but it was just flat. So that's why it wouldn't slide back. If it had been back a bit further and I'd been pushing a bit higher up, it might have slid back, but it wouldn't slide back. But you can see there where we've cut through it. And yeah, the little piece dropped on the ground there as well of it. And once I cut through that, the door just pushed open. So there you go. Hopefully you don't have to go to the hacksaw, Hopefully just pushing it will work. But I would say a lot of people are going to have to use the hacksaw. Anyway, the idea being that once you've done this with the door jamb, you should be able to just pretty much tap it back in. Where are we here? Okay, so just having a look at that. Stick down here a little bit. So just looking at that door jamb now, it still needs repair, but you can see it's not too bad now. There's a little bit of a gap, but I just think I'll tap it a little bit with the hammer just to make sure the nails are in, and then I'm probably just going to put a little bit of putty in there and put some white paint over it, and it should be fine. Hope this helped you. All the best.